When I first started going to knife shows, one of the most common questions that I would get was, what would you use a knife like this for? Or what's the purpose of this particular knife? And I learned early on that I needed to have a specific answer for the customer as to what they would use this knife for and how this knife could help them either out in the field or in the kitchen, wherever it may be. So most of my knives that I make have a specific purpose in mind. Every once in a while, I do throw out I make a one-off or something that just has no earthly purpose except that it looks cool or it was fun to make. And that's why I make knives. I make knives because I enjoy making them. But it's always in the back of my mind that I need to be able to explain to the customer what the reason for this knife was. So I'm going to do some videos showing my different models and what the purposes and the features of my different models are. And I'm going to start with my most popular knife, and that would be the Armagh. The Armagh is a small paring knife, and I believe in French, paring is peeling. So it's generally meant for peeling. I am a member of several groups on Facebook that are filled with professional chefs and purists, and a lot of them claim that a paring knife should never get dull because it should never touch a cutting board. It should only ever touch food, and I've found in real life that that's just not the case. The idea that the purist uses that the paring knife should be used for peeling potatoes or peeling carrots or something like that and should never touch a cutting board. In reality, I've found that the paring knife is used for just about everything in the kitchen. It's used by a lot of people that aren't comfortable with big knives, and they will use the paring knife for just about everything from cutting carrots to cutting onions to using it as a steak knife with their dinner. And I can tell you that this little Armagh, which is my personal Armagh, has been used as a steak knife I don't know how many times, but it fits that bill. It works for that. But the paring knife is one of the most used knives in the kitchen. And I'll tell you that when I get kitchen sets in for sharpening, no matter what the brand is, whether it's a Henkel's or a Wusthof or Chicago Cutleries, I can pretty much guarantee you that the dullest knife in that group is going to be the paring knife. It's going to have the most little dings in the blade and all of that. So they get used a lot. They get used with cutting boards. They get used against bones. They get used against all kinds of hard surfaces that will dull them. So I'm not a real big believer in the fact that a paring knife should never go dull. So this is my Armagh. This is my personal one. It's about 3 years old. It became my personal knife because I didn't care for the way my micarta handle turned out, and I couldn't get the proper finish on it to get it out to my customer to my satisfaction. So I kept it for myself. It has the stone-washed finish. It's AEBL stainless, so it is stain resistant. It's not absolutely stain free, but it is stain resistant, and you can see after 3 years it's held up pretty well. All of my Armaghs, with the exception of a few of the very early models, are a hollow grind, meaning that there is a concaveness to the grind. They look flat, but it's just a very shallow hollow grind. And that's nice because it allows a little bit of an air gap in between the blade and your cutting, whatever you're cutting, and allows that to come off. So if you're peeling carrots, the carrot skins will not stick to your blade as much because of the hollow grind. The hollow grind also allows me to have a very thin measurement behind the edge. They call that the thickness behind the edge, and it's just how fine you ground that blade before you actually sharpened it. And this one actually needs a sharpening. I'm going to sharpen it after this video and bring it back to its life. But the Armagh has been a popular paring knife because, number one, it's got a nice long straight edge, which gives you a lot of working area. It has the sheep's foot style tip, which is my understanding is, I believe it's called a Kamomono or Karamano, if I'm not mistaken. It's Japanese, and it's the Japanese word for fruit. This is what they use for a fruit knife. So it would excel at that. The rounded over tip, the sheep's foot, that's what that style of blade is a sheep's foot, they call it. It's kind of nice because it's not an intimidating knife. It's not a pokey knife that some people are freaked out by the point. But it does give you a nice tip that you're able to make fine cuts. So whatever you're needing to cut into, you can do it very easily. And with that long flat edge, it gives you a long cutting surface. So the paring knives are not good at chopping, because you will notice that your knuckles are going to hit the cutting board before the blade edge does. So it's not good for cutting or for chopping, but they're used for just about everything else in the kitchen. The Armagh is a pattern that I almost always have on my website available, jhoffmanknives.com. It's one of my it's one of my least expensive knives, and it's a very useful and common tool to have around in the kitchen. It also makes a halfway decent everyday carry knife. I know I've sold a few of them to people that want a knife for their youngster, and they don't want that sharp point, but they still want their youngster to have a knife of their own. The Armagh is great for that purpose, and makes a nice knife in a belt sheath also. So if you find one of my Armaghs on the website and you want me to make a sheath for it, I'm happy to do that for obviously the extra cost. But if you have any questions about the Armagh or about paring knives, please let me know. Like I said, these are usually available on my website, jhoffmanknives.com. I have them in all different types of handles, from fancy wood to plain G10 and micarta. 9 times out of 10, they're going to be AEBL stainless, but I do make them out of 5100 high carbon also, and on occasion Elmax or MagnaCut even. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Feel free to go to jhoffmanknives.com, check out the website, and if you have any questions, you can ask me through the website or on here, or you can sign up for my newsletter. I'd appreciate that. I always have special deals, and newsletter members get first chance at custom orders. So thank you very much, and you have a good day.